Right, border security. When you arrive in your motorhome, don't panic. When you see all the local vans getting emptied out completely, apparently that's only for the locals. They're not going to make you do that with your camper van. When you arrive, you'll have to queue up for around an hour to an hour and a half, where they will x-ray your vehicle. After this, you'll allow another 30 to 60 minutes while you wait for the sniffer dogs to come around your vehicle. The security will have a quick chat with you. You'll have to provide your documentation for your vehicle, such as your V5 registration if it's a British vehicle, your insurance documents, and your green card, which is the most important thing that they need to show that you've actually got coverage within Morocco itself. But don't worry if you don't, you can get local cover from the port itself. So once you've been through security, so you can grab yourself local cover from one of the little huts for the duration of your stay. So all in all, you need to be prepared for about 2 to 3 hours once you cross. So if you're doing an overnight ferry or a late night ferry, you need to bear that in mind, because obviously once you come off, you're not just going to be able to drive straight to where you're going to sleep, which is the biggest thing that caught me out, because obviously I was really tired, and then 3 hours I sat trying to go through security before we could drive off to find somewhere to sleep. We ended up stopping at the first place that we found, which wasn't very ideal. It wasn't a good night's sleep, so it's something you need to bear in mind so that you've got enough time to drive. Driving at night is also not advisable. The majority of the vehicles don't drive with the headlights on. There is a lot of issues with the roads, which is like potholes, your ditches. There's hidden speed bumps that you're not going to notice, and sharp turns that you're not going to know about, which obviously you can't see as very well at night. There's not a lot of street lighting, especially on the rural roads near where the port is and stuff like that, so you're going to bear that in mind. A quick thing into the driving side of it as well is tolls. The toll roads are fairly cheap here, at about €3.50 for majority of them. We avoided all tolls except for the one that you have to do to get out of the Medina when you arrive at the port. And on his way back, we used one to shave about an hour and a half off his trip. So it is worth doing them for the €3.50 once you run your way back, if you're not obviously stopping off in loads of smaller local places. It's a lot better roads, and it's a lot quicker for the sake of the money. Obviously, if you're trying to hit up all the small towns and stuff like that on your way down, it's better to not go on the toll roads, because you'll miss all the little villages and stuff out that are really lovely to go and see. Money. So cash is king in Morocco. A lot of the smaller villages and towns don't take card whatsoever. We use card wherever we can, just so we don't have to draw as much money out. We've got a Revolut card, so stuff like Revolut, Sterling and that, you can create extra currencies for the local currency. So we've got one for Moroccan dirham, which we convert as money. So we've got a pro account, which means we get free conversions. Bear in mind, if you've got the free account, you do get charged for like weekend conversions. You will also get charged for drawing money out of the cash machines. We found it's anywhere between 30 and 40 dirhams, with some of them being up to 60 and 70 dirhams per transaction, irregardless of the amount you withdraw. So even if you withdraw 300 dirhams, it's still going to cost you 30 dirhams. If you withdraw 3,000, it's the same price. So it's better to withdraw in larger amounts wherever possible, rather than lots of smaller amounts. The places like the Medinas and the marinas are the ones that seem to charge more, and stuff like the casinos, obviously, as you'd expect in the UK, you pay in the UK at these kind of places. To draw money out, it's the same here, it just increases the cost. There's apparently a couple of banks that are free for some people to withdraw, but we found that we tried all of them and none of them were actually free for us to withdraw. Tipping, so it's not expected, but it's appreciated here in Morocco. If you can afford it, do it. 10 to 20 dirham tip, it's £1, £2, well, euros. It's not a lot of money, and if you can afford to do it, do it. The people really do appreciate it. Your tips do help them, especially in like the bars and stuff like that. The only times that we've really tipped at all was in restaurants where we got excellent service, and taxi drivers that have gone out of their way to take us or pick us up from somewhere. That's the only time we've really tipped. If you're in a busy bar, like in a nightclub or in a hotel, all-inclusive places like that, tipping does help. You get served quicker, shaking money in the air. The bartender, as you're trying to get your drinks, and they'll generally come to you first before other people. So you can get served quicker with that side of it as well. Change your money into lower denominations as much as possible. You want to be swapping it into 20 dirhams and 50 dirhams wherever you can. We found it difficult to do this, as a lot of shops either didn't have enough change to give you. The Bureau de Changes had 50s a lot of the time, but not 20s. The Bureau de Changes, wherever they're open, you can go and get change in there. but don't expect to be changing like 10,000 into 20s because they're just not going to have it available. The banks do offer money change as well, but it seems to only be after 1 p.m. Smaller denominations are much better when paying for stuff, especially in like the souks and the markets, because as soon as you get out like 100 or a 200 dirham note, your price will go up. We found this a lot in the smaller villages that we were passing through. We'd go and ask for like a bunch of bananas, for example, and it'd say it were 35 dirham, and then we'd get out a 200 dirham note, and then the charge is 135 dirham. You'd argue with them then, and then it just becomes a big argument. So if you've got smaller denominations, closer to the exact change you can give, the better. Obviously, if it's 35 dirhams and you've got 35 dirhams, give them exact change, because then they can't scam you. So that's the big thing that we'd say is the biggest tip that we've got. The smaller money, keep your change as best you can. Keep changing it wherever you can. Whenever you get change in a restaurant, ask them to break it down into smaller notes. Getting around, so driving in city centres, especially during rush hour on a morning or an evening, is advised against, especially in the capitals and other major cities. Places like Marrakesh, Rabat, just don't do it in the peak times. The traffic's horrendous. Motorbikes have got right away over here on the roads. They'll drive through red lights, they'll drive through pedestrian crossings. People will just walk across the road as they see fit. There's police on most roundabouts. If you cross a roundabout when it's not your turn, you will get fined by the police. If there's a solid white line or yellow line, don't cross it for any reason. You will get fined by the police if they catch you doing it. Speeding, even if it's a couple of miles an hour over or kilometres here, you'll still get fined. You don't pay your fines later like you do in England either. You have to pay it on the spot in cash. You can't pay a card, so if you don't have the cash on you, they can confiscate your vehicle, they can escort you to a police station. We did get let off one of the times because we didn't have any cash as we got just into the country, but it's not always the case. You can also negotiate with the police on the fines in some cases. I found it were better, especially in rural areas where we were stopping in campsites, it were better to leave the vehicle in the campsite and get into one of the shared taxis and use the shared taxi to go into the local town. In some cases we were only paying 20 dirhams a person in a shared taxi to go 30 to 40 kilometres. So it's next to nothing, like it's €2. The biggest advice I'd say is whenever you hail down a taxi, negotiate the price before you get in, as the majority of the taxis don't actually use the meters that are in there. You pay per person in most of the taxis that you get in. Generally you agree on a price for the trip, or you agree on a price per person if there's only one or two of you. There seems to be three different types of taxis in the cities. There's two that can only stay within the city bounds, so they're tied to that city. For example, Agadir, they can't leave Agadir, they can only take you places within Agadir. There's ones that are the smaller vehicles that they have 4 seats in them, but they can only have 3 passengers on their insurance, so they won't let you in if there's more than 3 of you. And then there's the bigger vehicles that take up to 7 people. There's then the intercity vehicles as well, which will take you from one town to another. Generally you'll pay a lot more for that, and usually they're more private than the ones that are going as a shared vehicle. The taxi drivers in the local areas, the ones that can't actually leave the town, will go rent a car and take it to places if you want to go out on day trips, obviously as long as you compensate them in a decent manner. Markets and souks. Souks are a lovely and bubbly place to visit with a large variety of products such as knockoff designer bags and clothing. Grab yourself some cheap stuff, along with a large range of handcrafted products like tagines, pottery, painted artwork that have all been made by the locals. There's also a large range of food, Moroccan cuisines, homemade stuff, but bring your haggling cap with you whenever you go into these markets and souks. The haggling is a standard practice here. If you utter the words how much, you expect that your price is going to go up. They generally have tourist prices and local prices. If you speak any French, it does help in terms of negotiating, but don't worry if you don't. You can negotiate in English. You just need to bear in mind that whatever price they give you, generally a third of that price is the real price. At the end of the day, you need to haggle to the point where you're comfortable in what you're paying for the product and that they're happy to agree to it, obviously. Don't stick that as a hard and fast rule that it's got to be a third or a half of the price that they give you. Get it to a price that you're comfortable to pay. Bear in mind the work that's gone into it, whether it's a real or a fake product, whether it's handmade, stuff like that. Obviously you can judge on the price what you want to pay for that. They won't take less than what it's worth, obviously, so they'll only negotiate down so far. One of the best tricks that we found in terms of negotiating prices, you negotiate and haggle with them, and then if they won't come down to the price that you want, if you walk away, offering a reasonable price, and just wait. They'll follow you down the street and they'll chase after you and then go back. If you look back while you're walking away, they just won't do it. But if you completely walk off with a demeanour of you're not buying it, they will chase you down and offer you a better price. If you don't want to buy anything, just avoid eye contact the best you can. Sunglasses are great for this. Obviously, they can't see what you're looking at as you're walking past. Generally, they'll be very persistent in trying to get you to come into the shops or trying to get you to buy something. We found that if you're very stern with them and you give them a very stern no or no thank you and walk away, they'll leave you alone and they'll stop following you. Food. So there's a huge selection of food to be consumed in Morocco. And for every palate, if you want amazing, authentic and local cuisine, there's a variety of places offering. There's a huge selection of food to be consumed in Morocco. There's stuff for every palate. If you want amazing, authentic local cuisines, there's a variety of places offering tagines, which is a slow-cooked dish in a clay or metal pot, which is called a tagine. You can have it with a variety of meat, veggie or fish choices, along with couscous and what we would call fast food, such as pizzas, burgers, tacos, or as we know them back home, burritos or wraps. The tacos here are not tacos like what you get at Taco Bell, for example. There's also a wide selection of fast food mentioned in Taco Bell, such as Pizza Hut, Burger King, McDonald's, KFC, and you might find a few Domino's scattered about. Expect to pay prices comparable to what you pay in the UK for these chains, but ridiculously cheap prices for the local food, like the pizzas and the burgers. If you go to the restaurants that are based here, not the chains, you'll pay like €3 for a pizza, versus like €10 at Pizza Hut or Domino's. The Medinas and the Marinas seem to be the exception in this, where the prices are inflated, but the quality doesn't really generally get any better. The fresh fish, obviously at the Marinas and the Medinas, is generally a lot better quality because it's just been caught, which justifies paying a higher price for it. Alcohol. Most restaurants don't actually serve alcohol here, obviously because the majority of Moroccans don't drink. Part of the religion is that they're not meant to drink. We've mainly found alcohol available for sale in nightclubs, hotel bars, stuff like that. Alcohol is available in shops though, but they generally have specialist shops that are available in the majority of the major cities. And then the larger supermarkets such as Carrefour do have beer sections where they've got a variety of beers, wines, spirits. The one thing that we couldn't really find here was spiced rum. They have plain white rum, but no spiced or dark rum, so if that's something you enjoy drinking, it's worth bringing it with you. Food shopping. So most small shops don't accept card whatsoever, so as we were saying at the beginning, cash is king in these situations, especially for the smaller villages, where you want to grab stuff like essentials such as bottles of water, eggs and stuff like that. You'll need cash for that kind of things. Again, for like the souks and the markets, it's generally all cash. For like your fruit and veg, you'll get it a lot cheaper than what you would at the supermarkets. But if you need to get stuff like your water and your other essentials, you can go to the supermarkets. So the ones that you want to look for is Carrefour. That's going to be your favourite supermarket. They're in majority of the bigger cities. There's Carrefour Expresses in some of the smaller areas and the rural areas, but they do accept card. You will find some smaller supermarkets do accept card, but when you go in, if you just show them the card, it's the best way of finding out if they take card before you do your shopping. We've fallen foul to assuming that they took card, got a shopping, got to the till and didn't take card, so we had to go put everything back. The supermarkets do have a large selection of products, including imported stuff. So they've got like stuff like Pringles, they've got Lay's crisps, they've got dairy milk chocolate, they've got Haribo sweets. The prices are massively inflated though. If you shop with their local products, so like local versions of the desserts, the yogurts and stuff like that, they are a lot cheaper. Again, your milks, there's a lot of different milks. They don't really do fresh milk like what you get in England. It's more UHT stuff, which is obviously great if you're in a camper van because it's easy to store it. You don't need to have your fridge full of milk. If you find yourself not being able to find a Carrefour, Marjane is the alternative, which is another large supermarket. Both of them offer a large selection of fresh meats and cheeses, which you can have cut, grated, sliced, whatever you want to your desire. I find that's a better option, especially for the meats. They seem to go out of date quite quick once open, so unless you're going to consume a full long sausage in a few days in the caravan or the camper van fridges, it's better to get it sliced to the amount that you need for that day and then go back. You do pay a little bit more, but we found it a better option so there wasn't as much waste. I'd say the closest comparable to these two supermarkets would be Asda in the UK in terms of the selection and choices that you've got in there. There's a massive variety. Obviously there's a difference in size of each store, but the majority of them have the same product. So once you've got a staple product that you want that's in a Moroccan format, you can get it in majority of the other Carrefours. So if you find a new thing that you enjoy, you can still get it everywhere. Water is your best value to get in 6 litre bottles or 5 litre bottles. The 6 litres or 5 litres plus one for free. They're generally about 13 dirhams and they're available in majority of supermarkets. The smaller shops don't generally store the 5 litre ones, but if you don't want to deal with a lot of plastic waste, the 5 litre and 6 litre bottles can be handed into your local bin dippers, which you'll find through every city. They're going through and they're looking for the plastic bottles because they get repurposed, so there's no waste. They get used for local products such as washing up liquid, fabric softeners, bleach, stuff like that, that they'll put in and then sell at roadside. Anytime you go through any mountain areas or any villages, you'll see them at side at road selling these 5 litre bottles of the products.